to work at ICBC, and at the time, what I was thinking of was really security for myself and my daughter. And you know, my father had worked for the phone company for many years, and I knew people who had worked for the BC Hydro for many years. So I knew that these companies were good companies. They were secure jobs. Little did I know why they were so secure, because of the strength of the unions that were at these organizations. I had been for a claim on my boyfriend's car, because I'd been driving the car when the claim happened, and I went to another claim center, and it turned out he had owed a driver debt. I knew what the procedure was if somebody came in and paid the driver debt, and I was told that no, I had to wait for my check to clear at head office. And I made a comment to the receptionist. I really felt that I had been treated unfairly as an employee of ICBC. Needless to say, when I went to work on the Monday, my manager came to me and said that they were putting a letter of reprimand on my file. My good friend that I worked with at the time, he said, "Call the union, call the union." So I went into my boss's office and I said, "I want that letter off my file by noon today, or I'm calling the union." And 20 minutes later, lo and behold, he came to me and said, "Oh, the letter's gone." And I went, "Wow, I need to check out this union thing. It's like, it's got a lot of power here." I became an accidental job steward, as I like to refer to it. Well, about 3 months after I volunteered to help as a helper steward, the job steward in our office, Bill Cole, got notice that there was a union meeting taking place in Vancouver. So I went to the meeting. I walked into the Holiday Inn, and there were stewards from all over British Columbia. I'd only been a steward for about 3 months. I was sitting there listening to them talking at the front, and I had some questions, so I put up my hand. When it came to the break time, I had many people come up to me and say, "Wow, you're really great." I was like, well, no, I thought I was the only person who didn't know anything.
Karen is intense. When she wants something, she goes for it full on. And intense and committed. That's Karen.
I think our biggest campaign was after the Liberals were elected in the early 2000s, and Gordon Campbell, Premier of the province at the time, had made it very clear that he wanted to dismantle ICBC. So I got together with Jerry New and the rest of the executive, and we came up with Don't Wreck Public Auto Insurance. And it was a huge province-wide campaign. We traveled around the province. We spoke to city councils. We asked them to lobby the provincial government on our behalf because of what public auto insurance has as a benefit, not only to individual drivers, but to communities through some of our community partnerships that we partner with municipalities on. And it was a very successful campaign.
Karen had two main passions: our union members and public auto insurance. And this campaign brought those two together for her. She traveled the province, she worked tirelessly, she talked to our members, she talked to members of the Legislative Assembly. She worked hard to make sure that the government of the day didn't screw over our members by wrecking public auto insurance.
She took some very difficult bargaining when the Liberal government was new in 2003. I don't think that she's recognized enough for the work that she did on that, working very closely with Dave McPherson and others in our organization to preserve the benefits that the ICBC members enjoy today.
Jerry New was president for the 2 terms that I was vice president, and we actually ran together. We got Laurie Mayhew elected, really shaped the executive board for the 1996 term.
So Karen recruited me to run for Secretary-Treasurer in 1999. She wouldn't take no for an answer, and so in exchange for that, she did all the campaigning. She was determined to bring a change to this union, and she certainly accomplished that. And right after I was elected, I found out I was pregnant with my 3rd child. And my first reaction was, well, I guess I'll have to quit. I'll have 3 kids, I'll be on mat leave. And Karen Rockwell would not have any of that. She was determined that just because I was going to have a baby, there's no need for me to quit my elected position. And she was true to her word.
Before we went to a convention system in Local 378 and MoveUP, we used to have these things called annual regional meetings. And what it meant was teams of 2 or 3 would fan out across the province and hold meetings in communities across British Columbia. There's one particular meeting that I remember Karen attended as the vice president, so she set up the room she wanted and set up the handouts so that people could take those when they came in, and the sign-up sheet that people needed to sign into, and then queued up the video and had everything ready to go, and sat, and she may have even had donuts, I'm not sure, but she sat and waited for the people to come, and she waited, and she waited. And so eventually she thought, why aren't they coming in? So she got up and she had a look in the office. It was only a small office, I think about a dozen people. And in the outer office, outside the lunchroom, all of the lights had been turned off, and in fact the doors had been locked in this place. It turns out that this was apparently the day that the staff went out together for lunch out to a local restaurant, and all of them had decided they were going to continue doing that, and none of them had let Karen know that they weren't going to come to the meetings that she had signed up for. So she was livid with these folks, as you can imagine, after going all this way and going through all this trouble, and they didn't even bother to let her know that they weren't going to be coming to the meeting. So it's a story I've heard many times from her.
2004 International Convention in Florida. We made the decision in 2004, and I worked very closely with Jerry New, then president, and Andy Ross, to gain Canadian autonomy.
The convention started on Monday, and we served notice of that on Sunday. All of the Canadians had hotel rooms booked and flights booked back for what was going to be the end of the International Convention. Well, we weren't participating in that any longer. So we quickly had to develop some programs and some education for the Canadian delegates of our new Canadian Union at that point. And so we were putting on those workshops in the hotel that we were having when I was co-facilitating a course with Andy Ross with delegates from Canada right across the country. And Andy had gone out to get some paper, and he'd left me to handle the next part of the workshop, and we were in the middle of some exercise when suddenly doors on 3 sides of this hotel room, hotel meeting room that we were in, burst open, and these guys ran into the room carrying clipboards and sheafs of paper and yelling out names of people that had been leaders of the union from Canada. And I was stunned. I didn't react. I just like, oh my God, what's going on here? And then somebody, I haven't been able to figure it out to this day, somebody in the class that I was teaching yelled out, "It's the cops, run!"
We had a woman who was diabetic in the room, and we needed food, so we were tying sheets together and put them out the window, and Andy Ross was downstairs on the outside and was sending food up through the window.
Just as leaving my hands, I get gang tackled to the ground. Smashed in there and pulled down where I can hear Rockwell screaming at the window and people yelling, no idea what's going on. Anyway, as it calms down, turns out this is the hotel security.
Karen knows that stewards are the backbone of the union, and she worked really hard. She was committed to giving them the tools that they needed to get their job done. And she also helped educate other stewards in other unions by working with the Canadian Labour Congress at their annual winter school to educate stewards there.
Karen was always very much involved and very committed to our education committee and our education programs, to putting in a lot of time herself on teaching those courses. And I know that I'm not the only person that she took under her wing and provided a lot of training and support and mentorship for. I know that she's made a huge difference in my career and my involvement with this union. I know that there's hundreds of other individuals involved with our union who also say that about her.
You know, I stay in touch with my fellow staff members, and you know, they're continuing to fight the good fight, and there's a number of new people here, and I hope they carry on that tradition of mentoring new stewards and going out and meeting with members and perhaps sparking that bit of enthusiasm.
I've seen her on the executive board, I've seen her as a vice president, she's stepped up to the plate outside on a political activity, she's served on our national executive, she's worked as a staff member. I mean, come on, she's done it all.
And seeing her dedication to our membership, seeing the countless hours of her own time that she's put in to serve our members, mostly at ICBC to start, but all of our members in our local beyond that, and in fact right across our country. She completely deserves an honorary life membership for her work for this local.
Karen, it has been a fun journey. It's been many years now. I wish you well. I know you're going to be traveling and seeing more of the world, and I'll live vicariously through your journeys. Good luck, sister.
You know, there's times when thank you doesn't seem enough, but it's all you're left with. So Karen, thank you. Thank you for your passion, for your perseverance, for your friendship, and for your single-minded focus on this union's members. The union is better for having known you, and so am I.
Karen, I want to thank you for everything that you've done for our union, especially at ICBC and CAPU. I know that people very much appreciate the work you do there, but I also want to thank you for bringing me involved in our union in Local 378. Here was a guy that was a fresh claims adjuster who you encouraged to get involved in numerous things. The legacy that you've left with me and with others, I think, is going to serve our union very well. So thank you very much.
Well, truly, my deepest thanks to the members of the Executive Council who put my name forward for this extraordinary award. I am deeply humbled, and it truly does my heart good knowing that what I worked for all these years, both as an activist and as a union representative, have led you to have that faith in me to award me honorary life membership in our union, and I'm very, very grateful. Thank you very much.